Welcome to the Highly Effective Man podcast, hosted by former Navy SEAL turned life and fitness coach. I'm your host, JP Bolwan. This podcast is your resource for unlocking the healthiest, most productive, and highly effective man within you. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Highly Effective Man podcast. I want to thank you for joining me today, and just want to cover some things that are coming up with me and the coaching that I do. So this week, I start my first ever women's group program. It's a transformation program, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I got some great women in there. And during the next 3 months, we're going to talk about nutrition, productivity. And at the end of it, I'm excited because these ladies are going to have more confidence and just operate with more power in whatever they do. So that's really exciting. And then this week, we are covering part 2 of mental toughness. And actually this week, I'm going to give you, some 3 steps that you can use to reframe stressful events in your life and use them to grow, right? But what I really want to highlight is that part 1, which is last week's episode, that's going to carry you a long way without this part 2. If you missed part 1, you need to go back and listen to that episode if you haven't yet, because part 1 is the key. That's the key to getting through things, to getting what you want or pursuing your goal. Because without that, you're dead in the water. It's just not going to happen. All right. And so as I was, with all my episodes, I try to find things on the internet or in books that I've read or whatever it is. And in this particular instance, I picked up a book. It's the Harvard Business Review's 10 must reads. And one of the articles, and it's on mental toughness. And one of the articles that stood out to me was this one by Aaliyah Crum and Thomas Crum. That says, stress can be a good thing if you know how to use it. And I couldn't agree with that more, because a lot of times we look at stress or things happen to us and it's like it came out of nowhere and people like freak out, for lack of a better word, right? It's like they don't know what to do. They go into this huge stress response where, it seems like the world's going to end. And if you have that kind of mindset that stuff happens to you and you have no control over it, how disempowering is that, right? Because here's the deal. Stuff's going to happen to you. It doesn't matter, right? That's life. There's always going to be something that comes up. And some may be expected, some might be unexpected, right? But then it's how do you respond to whatever comes up in your life, right? Because if you're thinking that your life's just going to be rainbows and unicorns, right? To think about what my daughter thinks about everything, everything's like rainbows, unicorns, sparkles, you name it, right? But if you think life is just going to be all of that, then you're in for a rude awakening. Right? Because when you think like that, you're not prepared to deal with the stuff that comes up in everyday life, right? If you know that there's going to be problems or there's going to be stressful events, well, now you can reframe it and use it to your advantage. And in this article, they have 3 steps. And basically, the first one is just see it, right? See it for what it is, right? If you're having a bad time at work, or maybe you had an argument with a loved one, maybe you're struggling with your diet or your workout, just see it for what it is. Even label it, give it a title, right? One of the coaching programs that I've recently gone through talks about how, a lot of times we let stuff just kind of run around in our minds and we never actually get it out on paper, right? You never journal about it or write about it. right? And so one thing that you can do that's going to give you some space and some clarity is just write it out and title it, right? Whatever stressful event's going on in your life, write it out, title it. And once you've done that, well, now you've taken it out of your head, and now you can start looking at, how do I approach this with my higher level brain, right? Because if it's just running around in your head, well, then now the emotions are high and there's not much you can do. But getting it out on paper and then evaluating it or seeing it, now you can start thinking constructively, right? Or how can you use this to your advantage? Asking questions that are going to lead you in the right direction. And so that way you can get a more enhancing response towards whatever's going on. Step 2 is to own it, right? Most of the time, we don't get stressed about things that don't matter to us, right? And just to kind of hammer the point home, right? Like if somebody dies that you don't know, you don't get stressed about it. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. I mean, we never want anybody to die, but like if you hear about somebody on the radio or somebody on the news that they're murdered or whatever it is, but you have no connection to this person, it's not that stressful to you, right? Maybe if it's in your neighborhood, now you care, right? And they haven't caught the guy. Now what? That changes things, right? Now you might be a little bit stressed. And that's just to kind of make a point that many times stress is a good thing because it shows us that we actually care about the outcome, right? It's not something that is just happens automatically, right? It's because we care about whatever it is, right? If you're stressed about a work project, it's probably because you care about how well you perform in it, how people view you, how you took care of it. If you're stressed about performing on anything, it's because you care, right? If you don't care about anything, you're not stressed about it. And one reason that happens is because, deep down, they say in here, deep down, we know that things that are important shouldn't always come easy. I mean, how powerful is that, right? I think that anything good in this life, and it is hard, right? And the harder it is to accomplish something, the better it feels. That's just the truth. I mean, obviously we don't want everything to be hard, but the harder it is to accomplish something, the better it feels when you actually accomplish it. I think about Navy SEAL training and how hard that was, and getting through that. Like it felt amazing getting through it. And a lot of times hard training or hard programs, you learn a lot, right? Because let's say that, here's a good one, right? Let's say you sign up for a coaching program and it's easy and it's like, oh, you already knew everything, you just did it. And how gratifying would that feel? Probably not that gratifying. Probably wouldn't feel that great. Now imagine you're struggling to get through it. You're learning a lot of things and you're having to overcome challenges around, each week or whatever it is. But then by the end of the 3 months, you're a completely different person and you feel different. And when you finish it, how good is that going to feel versus something that maybe you already knew all the answers to, or you felt like you already knew all the answers to? How would that feel? Very different, right? And so knowing that you care about something and seeing it for what it is, and then owning it, right? Knowing that you care about it, that's going to make, those are two steps right there that are going to make a huge difference in dealing with stress. And then they say step 3 is to use it, right? And so when you look at it, they say that, using it is basically saying, okay, our bodies, when they're stressed, there's hormones that make it more alert, that fuel the brain and the body with blood and oxygen, and it's a response that propels you into increased energy, higher alertness, and all these different things that are designed to help you get through it, right? Same thing with building muscle, right? We stress the muscle after a period of recovery. That muscle then comes back stronger, right? Same thing with your body, your mind. You stress the mind, you overcome it, you rest. Now, next time something like that comes up, you're stronger for it, right? And so when you have that mindset that stress is enhancing versus debilitating, now you can see how you can use that stress. A couple books that come to mind that talk about this, and one that's directly, I think, in line with this would be The Obstacle is the Way, right? I can't remember the author's name, but that book is basically just what the title says, right? The obstacle is going to show you the way to getting to where you need to go, right? You can't just go around it or whatever it is. You got to go through the obstacle, or you see the obstacle and use the obstacle to get to where you need to go. So seeing that, owning it, and then using the stress to accomplish is what's going to help you, right? And thinking about maybe some of the times in your past where stressful experiences, if you look at it as like a victim, you're gonna feel like a victim, right? And feeling like a victim is not very empowering, right? Whereas you look at stressful experiences that might have happened in your life or maybe in your past or whatever it is, and you look at those experiences as something that's enhancing or something that happened for you versus to you, now you can look at that same event from a different lens and say, okay, maybe I'm stronger because this happened. I'm wiser because this happened. What did I learn from this happening to me? How can I be a better person because this happened to me, right? And I think, in my past, I think about, losing my dad at a very young age. I think when I was a kid, I'm like, why did this happen? Like, what can I do about it, right? But and there's nothing that I could do about it, right? And it just left me in a place where I was just basically a victim and hurting, right? Whereas, if I look at it now, okay, it's like, okay, my dad passed away. I immediately became the man of the home, right? Starting to look at it like that, or that, you got to grow up, you got to, be tough, you got to, whatever it is, you start looking at it that way. Now I can see how some of those thoughts or whatever it is help me to become who I am now. And I really like the way they close out this article. And I'll just read it verbatim because I think they put it out in words that, I don't think I could do any justice, I guess. So here's the final paragraph. They say, as a society, we largely fail to frame stress as potentially enhancing and often miss opportunities to learn from and grow from stressful moments. That does not mean that we advocate viewing all stressors as a positive thing, but we do advocate that you embrace your stress response as a powerful tool for helping you overcome the inevitable challenges in life that can and will arise. I look at that last sentence where they say that can and will arise, and that's huge, right? Because that's just saying like, okay, something's going to happen eventually, right? I might lose a friend, I might lose a loved one, or whatever it is. And just knowing that, or knowing that at any point things can change, you can look at that stimulus, right? I've talked about this before, and determine how you're going to respond. Are you going to play the victim, or are you going to ask yourself the questions that are going to help you get through and see the benefit of what's happening to you, right? So see it for what it is, own it, and then use it, right? So those are the 3 steps that they talk about in this article by Aaliyah Crum and Thomas Crum. That's all I got for you guys this week. I will have a podcast coming out later this week. It'll be a client interview, and I'm really excited to share that with you guys, because it's the first client interview that I've done. I'll eventually put the video. It was a Zoom call. I'll eventually put that up on YouTube so that you guys can watch it there. But the guy got great results. He's a type 2 diabetic and started reversing that particular chronic disease. And to me, that's huge. When you can save your own life, I mean, man, how awesome is that? And so I want you guys to, be on the lookout for that. That'll be out later this week, and continue to listen, right? If you guys are liking what you're seeing or hearing, leave me a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to this. If you want to leave me a review, that'd be much appreciated. And also, if you want to work with me, you can find me at higherlevelcoaching.co. I'm currently enrolling in the women's program, which will be starting. I close up registration tomorrow, which will be the 28th. And then we're going to have our first call on Tuesday morning. So if you're listening to this at a later date, I imagine I would still be running women's programs. And as you all know, I still have my men's program, and that's kicking butt too. So thank you very much, you guys, and I will catch you guys next week. Let's go. Thank you for listening to the Highly Effective Man podcast. If you enjoyed or learned something on this episode, do me a favor and share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. And one last thing, if you want to work with me as your coach to help you get fit, be more productive, and in general, just be the most effective version of yourself, head over to my site, higherlevelcoaching.co. Once again, that's higherlevelcoaching.co, and schedule a call with me there. Thank you again. Let's go.